Yeah, so we film in Texas and on a huge property owned by the Salvation Army, and they have huge fields. And this past year in the season finale, we filmed the feeding of the 5,000 scene. And we offered people the opportunity, if they wanted to contribute to the show in some way, that they could come out and actually be part of the filming. As many people know, we don't actually have a studio or a network financing us. It's all crowdfunded, so we have to look for opportunities like that. But over 3 days, we had over 12,000 people come in groups of several thousand each day, and we're able to film this scene authentically, without CGI, without pretending. We were actually able to get these people out, and we encouraged them. We taught them how to make costumes, and so they brought their own costumes and came out in first century gear. And we had a few artists. We had actually Big Daddy Weave was there, Michael Taylor were there to perform in between the scenes to get people excited. And so it was immensely hot. We had multiple medics out there because a few people went down, but it was extraordinary because I think it gave the scene the authenticity that we really strive for in the show. You guys can speak to how it felt actually acting with 4,000 people within, like you were actually walking out. When we do the feeding stuff, you guys were actually handing them bread and fish.
Yeah, I mean, I started in the industry doing theatre, and when we would do a take, and it would just be something simple like a few lines, just to each other. When Adam and Dallas yell cut, the eruption of applause. It's like we're doing film, but we're getting all the benefits of theatre, and it's like another way in which we get used to different, right? It was unbelievable. We just felt the love. It was crazy.
Yeah, just the electricity of that many people all reacting to the same world that we were trying to create for the camera was someone laughs and then that's like 3,000 laughs reverberating. You're just like, whoa, that's bigger than I thought.
But when we were rolling, they were all like in the scene, in the moment. It was just, and that was so important to us. It put us in the scene all the more. Like Dallas was saying, it's not CGI. There was 5,000 real people, and we felt that.
5,000 scene partners. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So for Abe and George, first of all, you guys do an amazing job. Like, I literally feel like I'm looking at people from the Bible. But was there pressure when you were being cast into this of like, I've got to do this justice? Like, what was that like for you? What was that?
Well, very quickly, we do look like our characters because we've actually dressed a little bit like our characters. Green and blue is what our characters wear on the show. We kind of feel like the Power Rangers when they're like in day-to-day life. They wear their colors.
Yeah, and we're going to get beeped out of here like tomorrow. Just go put on our uniform.
But I've said this before, the pressure is definitely off when you, and it's a testament to the writing because everything is so grounded and it's all about relationships and all the characters are so relatable. So yeah, there is that reverence, especially for me. John wrote a book and it's like, oh, the pressure's on. But then, I get to know John and, he's got his little intricacies and stuff, and that just makes it so much more fun to play and to be on that journey with John, and every single disciple has that, so I think all the cast feels that way.
I don't have a book, so I'm good, no pressure. Just kidding.
Yes.
What can we expect in season 4?
Well, there's certain things I can't say, of course, but with these two guys here, we do the scene in season 4 where James and John, in the midst of tragedies, in the midst of Jesus even talking about how tragedy is coming. It's funny when we watch when you read the Bible, you forget how many times he actually predicted his death. And the disciples were always like, yeah, interesting, hold that thought. So where are we going to stand in the future? And James and John asking, can we be on the right hand and the left hand in your kingdom? And it breaks Jesus' heart that's what they're focused on. And so season 4 covers a lot of that, actually. That the tension is building. We're getting closer and closer to Holy Week, closer and closer to the crucifixion, spoiler alert. And what's interesting is we're portraying the fact that the disciples kept missing it. And so we're really showing how much we can tend to miss things because we get focused on ourselves as well. So, and John the Baptist dies this season. I'll give that spoiler.
No.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, you're here in the middle of season 4 filming. When do you sleep? And then, if at all. And then we hear from you, Dallas, often at the beginning of premieres of episodes of how the show's impacting people. I'd like to hear from Abe and George about how being a part of The Chosen has impacted your lives as well.
Yeah. So we don't sleep much. I mean, just yesterday I was filming till 6 in the morning in Texas. And then flew here and had some meetings and then crashed, and then we get right back to filming on Tuesday. Fortunately, tomorrow is Memorial Day, which is why we're able to come. And we've got scenes this week that are going to take us into the evening. So yeah, sleep is at a premium. We don't get much of it, but we got to focus on the work. But yeah, you guys, how has this impacted you?
You know, this year more than ever, I've had experiences where people come and they recognize me. You know, I was on my cousin's horse ranch, and his veterinarian recognized me. So like those are like the coinkydink moments. But then you have people who are truly impacted, and they come to you, and it's not necessarily that they're nervous to meet me. It's that they're nervous to explain to me how much the show has impacted them, and you can feel that. And it's both beautiful and it can be overwhelming. I had this kid who was like in tears, and I just was like, I get it, man. I cry too.
Yeah, just recently we had a couple of visitors on set, and one was a little girl whose younger sister had just beaten cancer. And her mother told me that at school there were some children making fun of people with cancer. And she had and this is what impacted me, she had a James and John moment where she was like bringing the thunder. And she said watching that episode, season 2, episode 1, Thunder, where the sons of thunder are kind of just calmed down by Jesus, she felt she was doing the same thing. And it's moments like that's life-changing, to meet those people and hear those stories. It was just touching, and it's just incredible that the show can touch that many people in that way.
How long does it take to make an episode like the season 3 finale, from the writing and filming and editing?
Well, we shoot all 8 episodes at once, so they get intermingled sometimes. But I would say episode 8, which had not only the feeding of the 5,000, but the walking on water, where we're filming for 3 nights in a blue tank in the middle of Louisiana, all night shoots. I would say the writing, the filming, the editing, the music, all that, the VFX, the visual effects on that episode took at least half a year. So that particular episode was a little unique, but the average episode, including all the stuff that you talk about, takes a few months.
We just had Jason Crabb back here talking about the story of when he was talking to someone a waitress at a restaurant, and she was saying, like, I've never heard Jesus told that way before. Do you have any examples from set where maybe there was someone that either had never met Jesus in that way, or maybe someone that you work with that doesn't know the story of Christ and has come to you to say, thank you for sharing this Jesus with us?
Yeah, we obviously don't name names of cast and crew. I would say that actually more than half of our cast and crew don't come from a traditional faith background, and we're not trying to turn the show into a church. We have work to do, but at the same time, being part of this story and of course the calling of my life is to share Jesus with as many people as I can. And we have had several actors and crew members who have said, I want to know Jesus more from being part of the show. And I think even you guys could have talked about how just playing the parts, you regardless of what faith background you have, it's just been so intriguing to learn more about Jesus, learn more about your characters. But yeah, we've had several, quite a few actually, cast and crew who just said, I being part of this and seeing how much this show has impacted others, I want to know more, I want to know why, and have come to know Christ. It's been really cool to see. Yes?
Dallas, so I have been able to be on set in Dallas, or in Texas with Chad, and can you just speak to all 3 of you about what is going on set? It's almost like a Disney that's going on down there that most people don't know of.
Yeah, so we built a first century set. We went, there were some people who, there was a nonprofit started to along with the Salvation Army, to build this set to allow us to film and not have to always be renting and not always having to go to Utah for everything or for borrowing small little sets that have been built. We needed something that we could have for our own, that we could take the time and get it right. And so, on this Salvation Army camp, they had 700 acres, 600 of which they weren't using. And so they allowed us to build this first century set along with sound stages and everything. And it's the only one like it in America that allows us and hopefully others in the future to be able to use it to tell these kinds of stories. And hopefully, after I take a nap for about a year when The Chosen is done, we've got other Bible stories to tell because the demand seems to be so strong for it. It's the main question I get is, what other stories are we going to tell? So now we have an opportunity to do that for a long time.
One more.
How many more are we allowed? One more?
One more, yeah. Can you explain what episode has probably impacted you guys the most in your life, your own personal life?
What's funny is you unfortunately weren't there.
I wasn't there.
Sorry, you were. It was a different Big James at the time. This guy's been Big James for the last 3 seasons. He's extraordinary. But the first season we had someone different. But it was season 1, episode 4, the miracle of the fish, when Simon surrenders to Jesus, and when Jesus kind of takes care of all the things that are keeping him from being able to follow. And the reason that episode impacts me so much, and I know it impacted you as well, was because it was the first scene where I knew it was out of my control. I knew that the show was bigger than I was. The visual effects or stuff, like when we were filming it, we didn't know how it was going to turn out, because a couple days before filming we realized through lots of different problems we didn't have any fish, we didn't have a boat, we didn't have a lake, and those are all really essential when you're doing a miracle about fish on a boat in a lake. And so how those all came together quickly, and how the scene when we were filming it was just a big green tarp that was going to be replaced later, and we called it the green burrito because it was filled with water balloons, and I was just so out of control in the sense of I wasn't dictating everything, and then when the scene turned out so powerfully that it impacted me personally, I was like, okay, this is bigger than me, and that's a really great place to be. I know I don't have to rely on myself for this, and that's when it really started to impact me. So.